Now we learned quite a bit about this transition component over the last lectures. Now one important thing to, of course, know is that you can also nest this inside any component you want. So of course we could move transition from the app.js file into our modal.js file and simply wrap our entire modal with this transition component in there. That of course also requires us to import transition from that package though. So import transition from React CSS, from React transition group transition, like that. And now we just need to update our code and basically say again that modal is always present in our app.js file, this component. Show is therefore again back to this state modal is open. And now show inside the modal has to be used differently. Now show is a property controlling this in property here. So now this should be bound to props show, which is true or false now again. And therefore, when we control our CSS classes here, we should do that inside a function between the transition component opening and closing tags, where we get the state managed by the transition component, where we then eventually return our div, which holds the modal, and where we then, of course, no longer attach modal open and closed like this here on CSS classes. Instead, that's just an array with modal. Down there, instead, in this code we return inside the transition component, there I instead now need to change my CSS classes and conditionally animate this. So therefore, let me restructure this to a function with a function body where I don't just return something, because before I actually return the JSX, which should be entered inside this function here, I of course want to adjust my CSS classes. So I will essentially grab my constant from up there and now configure it here to be either just the modal, or now again checking for state being equal to entering. If that's the case, then I want to use modal opened, this one here. Otherwise, if state is equal to exiting, and I'm using these entering and exiting classes to move in right at the point of time we start that animation. So if it's exiting, then I want to have modal closed. In all other cases, I'll have null. So same logic as before, but now inside the modal. If we try this out, we should still get the same behavior as before though.